So is the mic level all right? All right, I'm gonna do a static fire just to check the game sound. All right, I think I'll. Go for somewhere around there so that it's not louder than I can talk. All right, so this is pretty much exactly the same as where we left off last week. Basically, what I want to do is make this thing. So originally, it was like his cargo one, and we put the crew cab here instead of the cargo one. But I also wanted to make this thing comply with connected living space, because right now you can see that there's two different sections. So like this little crew carrier here is considered its own separate. That wasn't right. Mouse might still be acting up a little. Get rid of that. Yeah, so see that little crew carrier gets a separate consideration for crew carrying, and what we want to be able to do ideally is be able to dock with the docking port, and then everybody that's inside can go through the docking port instead of having to EVA everybody out and fly them across into the station. So that's one of the things that I want to do, is to change this this section inside the cargo bay so that it actually works. Yeah. So I just kind of disassemble everything that's in here and then put it back together. Some stuff I'll just plop up here to hold on to it. And then I also found out, like all these parts, if you look at the volume, like 2.57 out of 2.66 is still available. So these crew cabs actually have a ton of space for life support. So I don't actually need this dedicated life support tank anymore. Either one of these, actually, both of those were life support. I don't need either one of them anymore because I can just put life support in there. I can add a whole lot more in there. Well, that looks to be full. But anyways, this crew canister up here also has more space in it, so there's a lot of places I can add the life support to. And then the other thing is I was doing some re-entry testing and I found out that this tail actually is really hard to keep the thing stable. So I changed the position of the tail, and so we'll get to all of that, and hopefully it won't look like a complete nightmare. Yeah, I'm just used to playing on like stock game. Well, not stock game, but not using like the modular tanks and all that stuff. So you get what you get with those. You can't really reassign and add extra space. Which of these do I want? Yeah, that one. So this tube here, go away, Kerbal Engineer. So see this tube, it says passable yes and surface attached parts pass yes. Um, so that's how I can get the connected living space stuff to actually be happy with the docking port and everything. So this tank here is just a RCS fuel and stuff like that. Let's flip that over. This is, I'm gonna flip it around. You'll see in a sec. But I'm just putting that there because it's easier to install it while it's in that spot. Let's see, that may be too big, or I may have it need to move it. Yeah, I'll just move it. And then I'll just take this tube and spin it around. So now that RCS tank is down low in the cargo bay. And then this guy I can put on the top. Yep. I think I can raise this up a little bit more. I just don't want it to look cheaty. But I think that'll fit inside the thing when it's closed. Yeah. So these things, I'm gonna make them the those are the power tanks for the fuel cells. And then I'll just put the fuel cells on the end of these. So those can chill out right there. And then I gotta stuff 6 of these guys down in the bay here. It's kind of clipping, but maybe it's all right. Then we got batteries got to put back in, and then the solar panels. And I think the docking port is clear enough of those panels, it won't smash them. And then this thing, which has a strut attached to it that I need to get rid of. But it just kind of sits in there now. Well, we learned from the Martian that the radioactive stuff is perfectly safe as long as you're cold. What's up, Pulsified? I'll just hide another pair back there somewhere. Anyway, so the goal of all of that, which is hopefully now achieved, is that Connected Living Space sees everything as one giant continuous thing. So we can transfer Kerbals from here to here, from here to here, and they can go through the tube in the center of this. And then this docking port, they can also transfer into whatever they've docked to if Cosmo makes something that's CLS compliant. Maybe we can. I don't remember if the new station is or isn't, because I don't think we ever had him check. But anyways, future proofing. Future proofing is important. And then the other thing that this allows us to do is, now that we've got all this extra space on the side, is we can load it up with a bunch of those container boxes. These guys. You weren't here when I was talking about it, Pulsified, but basically the thing I noticed about the modular tanks is we've got so much spare capacity up here. Like there's 2.57 kiloliters of tank space available, so we aren't even close to having the crew cabin full of life support yet. So I have a little spreadsheet here. You can see now on the top left. That's a spreadsheet that I was working on. So I'll be able to put in like 2750 liters, and it'll tell me how many units of food, water, and oxygen I can put into each thing. So we'll go through and do that in a minute. That way we can pack like a balanced load of life support instead of just giving like equal amounts of food and water, because they don't consume at an equal rate. Yeah, if we don't have any crew to send up for a particular mission, then I guess he could probably do some kind of PLM, or is that the progress things that the Russians send up? Is that what that is? But yeah, so we'll do that in a sec. So I actually have room for quite a few of these. Come back, OBS. Okay. course it's exactly on the border, so it doesn't want to let me just put it here. No, don't do that. Okay, so is that something that's permanently on station then, or is that something that gets sent up and brought back down? There we go. All right, so the equipment that we've got in here is pretty much the same now. We got the same number of RTGs down underneath the tube. We've got fuel cell fuel. We got these little batteries here that can't really be clicked. There we go, battery, solar panel, and then the 7th crew and the docking board. Now I put a noise suppression on because I got the ceiling fan running and stuff, so it hopefully isn't gonna make it so you can hear mouse clicks and whatnot. Well, part of it is I'm not as accustomed to talking to a screen. I'm sure that comes with time because see, he's been doing these voiceovers for not just the streams, but he's also been doing the videos for 2 years this week. So he's got a lot more practice talking to something that's not alive. All right. So Cosmos, something you didn't get to see yet is this handy little spreadsheet that I made for calculating life support. So that way, all right, this little box here. So we can stuff the crew tube full of stuff. I don't know if it's going to let us put in. Yeah, it will. So this fuselage tube will take life support, and then this crew carrier, and then this cabin. So we can stuff them all full of life support. And the way that that's set up is whatever, however much food it will take to be full. So it says 1900 food and it's full. So I just copy that over to tank available, and then that tells me, and I have to copy and paste it into Notepad first. But I can just put that in there. That makes a food tank. And then the water one to make the water tank. And then the oxygen for air. So that should be a balanced duration of food, water, and oxygen. So if I check this, yeah, so you see we still have pretty much identical amounts for each thing. Yeah, it's completely the opposite method that I did of finding out how big the orange tank should be, because the orange tank sizing process is entirely seat of the pants, and this is entirely not seat of the pants. So then I just got to do the same thing for the other two things. So this has got not a whole lot of space in this one, just 50 liters. Oh, it's already got some life support in it. All right, so I just removed the existing life support tanks so that I can calculate all of them at once. And technically, I don't really have to calculate the oxygen one because it'll just take everything that's left, and I can just set that. But it probably didn't change too much because I think that guy might have already been completely full, but this should have a bunch of space. Yep. All right. So 50 days for 7 crew just by filling those up. So that's why I said I don't really think that I need any additional dedicated life support tanks, which is why I felt comfortable just totally filling up the cargo bay with those containers. Since I figured that was a more useful use of the space, because we all know how often Crash needs a spare ground pylon or two when he can't quite reach the hose far enough. All right, see you later, and good luck with entertaining people. All right. So what's next? Next, we gotta fix the aerodynamics a little bit. So one of the things that I've discovered is that this thing's really hard to fly back down. And I decided that I don't want to fly it back down as hard as it is to fly back down, so I'm going to make it easier to fly back down. So we're going to use more like recent design for his tail, like the SKS kind of. So we're going to move the tails out here. Well, if you make it back before I actually, why is that leaning? I don't want it like that. If you make it back before I actually do any testing, then maybe you'll still get to see it. Okay, there we go. Oh, come on, behave. Forever clicking things I don't mean to click. Okay, so it was kind of like one of those, oh shoot, what are they called? Like those crates that you use when you're moving, that you can get delivered in your driveway, and then whenever you're done using it, then you just call the people and they'll come pick it up. Actually, I think I want to move this one up. Then I'll move this one out here because it's kind of blocked by the tail now. Well, yeah, everything in space is more costly, right? put a set back here because I want these for additional pitch control and nothing else. Because they're like one of the few things that's actually behind the center of mass, because, well, I guess these are too, but this middle tank here is going away. So this whole thing now, we don't need it. And I figure it's also kind of probably safer having like everything nice and low profile now, because it's easier to dock to the station when you don't have like appendages hanging way out tall and proud. All right, see you when you get back. Though there's one real party trick to this that hopefully I'll be able to do from this view without having to set it down flat. So I'm just going to take tail and I'm going to make only one of them. So the plan is like nested symmetry. So I want to keep the double tail fin. Let's see. How can I get this to attach right? Alright, I might have to do that in the space plane hanger because that's not playing very nicely. So I'll just save this as subassembly. Well, let's see, where's the... Yeah, this will do. Nah, I want some of the flat top. There we go, that's a lot better. So if I do this right, I can get two of these real close together. I think that's what I want. Maybe. Still kind of crooked. That's annoying. Why you gotta be like that? Maybe that's better, maybe it's not. Is this tail even on straight? Maybe that's the problem. Yeah, I'm hoping that fixes it. Assuming that there's anything to fix. I have another copy of this that I already tested, but I want to actually like build it on Twitch instead of just using parts I've already worked on behind the scenes. Okay. Cool. In this case, Z fighting is a good thing. So I just gotta make them half as thick. And then I can split them apart a little bit. Too much. So pretty much like that is what I want. And what that'll do is it'll give us twice the aero braking because now we're going to have the split apart tail fins on both sides. It's yeah, sure. If you must. And just make the Where's the thing where you pick what color it is? Oh, okay. There it is. Do this guy and that guy. And then I'll leave those black because they're actually going to be like splitting open into the wind. Alright, so I think the tail's done now, so I can go ahead and do that. And then hop back over to the shuttle. Vector. Are you just going for like poetry? Yeah, the one that comes in 1.4. Yeah, but alas, we have no such luxuries when we're trying to play this old ass version. Of course, it didn't remember the texture completely, but whatever, fine. Easy enough to fix. Is this actually upright though? Yeah, probably close enough. And then another thing that I had noticed, I did a teardown of this thing with this thing open, and what I ended up finding out was that the AJ10 is, well, I've done some testing. So you want them like out here beyond where the launch clamp is. Like you want them out here like that. But one of the things I found out when using this RCS build aid was actually that the AJ10 is on very, very slightly crooked. You can kind of see it there. It's not exactly centered up in the middle. Oh, But I wanted to leave them room to fan out like that, because like they're gonna fan out a pretty good ways. You'll see in a minute. So like if I put them here, then when the spoilers deploy, so you want it on top, like up here, like that, but maybe more forward. Like that. Oh no, what have I done? I mean, if we want really, really excellent yaw stability, we can just run around with 4 tails. Like, who's gonna stop us, right? This thing will never, ever, ever be in the way, or it'll never be turning sideways in the airstream. Anyways, let me fix this engine placement. And then one thing that Kerbal Engineer is actually useful for, maybe the MechJeb stuff has it too, but this thrust torque thing readout. So I can actually get it like basically down to 0 or real close to 0. See, I need it to sit down there. Actually, right there is fine. Ha. There we go. Welcome back, Cat. Alright, so see there now the torque is like basically nothing. So that means that the AJ10 is actually firing in the right position. Before it was like, I don't know, it was a good bit over to the side. I still got to show you guys that monstrosity of a rocket that I was testing with earlier. I wanted to see what would happen um, if I designed it so that it would launch with not having these angled main engines on the shuttle. So I created a way which I can't do it anymore because of these sideways tail sections, but it had two orange tanks, one on either side of the pants tank, and then it had three white boosters on each orange tank. So it had a total of like six of those, and then two of the orange tanks. And it flew great, but I guess it's just a little bit too much insanity. It was ugly, but it flew great. What are you gonna do? It looks sporty with four tails. Happens if I just get rid of these. Yeah, so we'd have to do some re-entry testing because I've tested it with him on the wings, but I have not tested him in a high position like that. So we can basically what I did is I just took off the tank and then I did a simulation and start in orbit and test if it would re-enter okay. And then I drained off most of the aerosine. So I made it so that I only had about 4 minutes worth of runtime on the AJ10 worth of the aerosine and nitrogen tetroxide fuel. So we can do that in a sec. I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, I wanted to move the wings up. So that was the other thing, is that the center of mass is actually too far ahead of the center of lift. Yeah, and that's kind of why I put them low, is because I didn't want the tails to give roll authority, because roll authority comes from these outer ailerons and then also the RCS port there. It'll block it for part of it, but I'm not sure how completely accurate everything is, but like since the wing is already narrower out here, so like this little triangular section of the wing here might block the airflow to the tail when it's up here, but when I had it starting immediately at the front of this joint right here, it came back down really nicely, better than any flight that I recall seeing on one of the videos. So I don't know. We can try it, and if it doesn't like it, then we can move it. But every reentry test I did with the single central tail on top of the little cylinder or pill tank setup, yeah, it was horribly unstable. Probably because the entire body was blocking the airflow to the tail. It flipped out and pretty much from 65 kilometers all the way back down to 15, it was just a mess of flipping and stalling, and it was pretty much impossible. Like, nobody would survive that in real life. You'd get like a concussion and pass out and die. Okay. Trying to decide if I want to mess with the launcher yet, or if I just want to test if it'll re-enter like this. But I think what I found out is that I'm probably going to need 3 of these E1s on the boosters. I don't think 2 is enough. Um, they wanted the tails up there instead of on the wing. There was a moment where there was 4 tails, and it actually looked rather sporty. But we'll see if it's okay having them there, or if it really needs some. I think they're gonna clip the engines though when I apply the brakes, maybe. But we'll see. Probably move them up a little bit if I have to. That's yeah, that's what I wasn't sure about. Um, I tested them like down in this position. Like when I was testing them, they were pretty much there. Which I mean, it looks cool like this, but there is a tiny bit, like a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit. I think this last section's just maybe 5 degrees from straight. But yeah, that was the other thing I was thinking of was like, what if multiple of them were angled up or something like that. Of course, it's going to take 2 years to. There we go. Sup, quiet. Is he the weebest of all of the weebs, or just like one of many weebs? What the hell? Why did the engines go up in the... No, what are you doing? Yeah, 2 of the J2s still. Editor going slightly crazy. Oh god. Okay. Come back, engines. We get to enjoy the spinning wheel of death. There we go. I have no idea why that happened. What engine was that? I am so confused. Alright, let's try this again. Yeah, 2000 Arabies. Yeah, see, this is where it gets kind of dumb because even though I did mirror symmetry for this, it's putting it's not putting this one on the outside over there where it should do. But it might not realize that that's wrong because it still seems to think it's not showing any real left right roll as far as I can tell. It seems to be pretty much in line, so maybe it's just confused and I can fix that later. Alright, so 1.33 liftoff, so now I need a lot more. Alright, so let's see how badly this goes. On the booster ones, those are the E ones, and I think they've got like 2 and something minutes. It never seems to say the right thing in the vehicle assembly building or until you're actually airborne with it, because it seems not to comprehend how math works. Like it'll pretend that they're all happening, or that they're all gonna stay together even though they're not. It's not even gonna give me a countdown to the burnout of these guys. Oh, you mean the maximum runtime? Yeah, I don't know. I hope I'm not exceeding it, because I have test flight turned off, so if I am exceeding it, I would never know. Budget has wares if you have coin. Well, I have test flight turned off so they can't fail. But yeah, when he's actually using them, or when he's actually using this thing, if they do fail, then it's going to be a oops on my part. So I'm pretty sure I can't use I didn't reset the action group because every time I clone the engines, it forgets to only apply the shutdown to 2 of them. So I may just have to pick... Well, no, because then they're going to burn out unequally. I guess we'll just fly up really spicy. I think we have too much yaw authority because it's dancing. Yeah, it might not go well. It didn't used to do this. It's just, I think, because we've got 4 freaking tails on it now. And it's just got, and it's, so it's a total of 8 control surfaces. Oh no, don't blow up, don't blow up, don't blow up. Don't blow up. It's gonna blow up. Ah, crap. That's not excellent. That's just my fault for how I was flying it. So that was like 2 minutes and 15 seconds of runtime. Are you gonna blow up too? If it does, we're screwed. Uh-oh. That was not expected. Yeah, backwards glider. We're awfully high up, so I don't know if the aerodynamics are going to do anything just yet. Oh, come on, behave. The joys of owning a Mac, or trying to game on a Mac anyways. It might be dead. It hasn't officially declared itself dead. It's just thinking real hard about it. Like it says, not responding. Alright, well, let me kill it real quick. No, that was me cutting the display capture for the so I could kill the game. That was not the loading screen. Yay, thanks for following. At the worst possible moment as I'm reloading, but yeah, I want to see if it'll, because I don't think I ever tested it on the way up with more than the one tail. So I'm curious if that's just a situation. Situation I'm going to deal with having the multiple tails if that's just part of life now. Skigler, you watch Cosmo on YouTube, I'm assuming. And yeah, see you later, Pulsified and Quiet. Cosmo, how does this load time compare to yours? I'm imagining it's probably longer. Alright, so it thinks we're still on the pad. Yeah, I wonder if I'd get much better results if I turned off some of these fancy things like the clouds and whatnot, or do they not really affect performance all that much? Is that part of the zip folder that you made included already the RSEVE? Yeah, I'm used to this 70,000 coming up. I'm used to that being exit of atmosphere. It didn't seem to do the wiggle thing this time though. But the the engines could probably angle a tiny bit more or less. I'm not sure how I'm reading that. It's pitching down, so maybe they're too angled because it's not quite neutral pitch. So I guess you're pretty much happy as long as it's like between the long line there and the long line there. Yeah, I pretty much haven't touched anything in the last 2 minutes, so I'm gonna have to start hand flying it as we crest over apoapsis. I think 30 seconds away, 5 minutes to go. So I'm probably gonna have to ride a little bit of pitch up um, on the latter part of the insertion, but we got the fuel for it. I could run the tank dry at 8,300, so we got about 500 extra ish. Yeah, I don't usually have to go much more than about 20 degrees above the horizon to get a very well controlled insertion. That sounds inappropriate. But this is what I was saying is it's pretty easy to get this thing up in less than a 200 by 200. Um, the only concern I have is I'm not very good at timing the end of insertion burn, so it might overshoot horribly at the very last second. But up until that point, it's pretty easy to control, and that's just my inexperience at playing RSS and not having infinitely throttleable engines and not having what do you call it? Uh, not usually doing apogee kicks, at least not big ones. All right, I think I can pretty much hold this attitude the rest of the way. Just pull the apogee back down a little bit behind us as we fall, and then maybe push it back in front of us in another minute or so. They do a little bit. I think they throttle down to like 68% or something like that. I don't know if it'll actually say if I click on them. Throttle percent. 77. So it's certainly not like infinitely throttleable like a stock engine is. Actually, I might point a little bit down now. Alright, I will call that good. I need to put Sephitrons on there, because that's not great. Chin scraper. Yeah, so I got, what, a 10-minute coast now? Oh yeah, that's right. I have precise maneuver installed. So click that, 2 clicks, and you've got a let's see if I can stop this thing spinning so much. But yeah, just those 2 clicks, and that's all you need to go get your circularization, because the precise maneuver, like, it understands enough about orbital mechanics to do a couple of things for you. So you can do a 1-click degree at a time inclination change, and you can do a 1-click circularize plot. And the other thing I was going to show you, Cosmo, is now that I've got CLS compliance working, I can transfer, wait, open. I can transfer into this rear cabin, and I can transfer into this thing here, and it'll just do it, because everything is considered one continuous space. So now Bill's in there. Put Bill in the rear cabin. Now Bill's in the rear cabin. What the hell is that? What the fuck? Why are you so big? That's scary. That's really scary. Okay, let's not look at that anymore. Put him back up front. Yeah, I don't know what that was. That was freaky. So yeah. Easy as pie. And I took your recommendation and made sure to strap the can to the back wall, because the crew can is attached to the tube, and the tube is attached to the front wall, so there's actually like an air gap technically right there between the crew can and the cabin. So I shredded that up so it shouldn't wobble around at all. Hold on, let me turn my ceiling fan down a little bit. Actually, conspiracy theory, maybe it's because of the RTG that's sitting on the firewall has been causing him to have, like, what do you call it? Mutations. little bit of housekeeping. I'm going to make an action group to do this, by the way. So there'll be an action group to safe the J2s so that they'll have locked gimbal and be deactivated. But the real question, oh, so here's the all the air brakes. All the drag you could ever want to come screaming down towards a runway or flat patch of ground and stop it at the last minute. Yeah, hopefully. The real question is how much of them actually see the air. Like that, the ones on the wings do. You can see them from a re-entry angle, but the ones that are on the body are completely blocked, I think. So that's why I originally had chosen to put them on the wings, because I knew that they would still get some airflow even at a re-entry attitude. And it really seemed to make all the difference during testing. Oh, I'm not going to ride the air brakes out that well. I might, though, because the one thing that this struggles with is it doesn't like to pitch up during landing or during the hot part of re-entry. So it may actually help to be able to pull the nose up a little bit more. Because normally I've just got the RCS jets down on the bottom of the nose here. These two and these two are just going full blast, trying to push the nose up during re-entry, because it doesn't really stay at 40. It wants to go more like 25, 30. All right, how much time do I need? Probably not a whole lot. So it's easily inside of a 200 by 200 if you shut the main engines off early enough, and less than 50 to circularize, which sounds kind of reasonable. I mean, one minute I think is actually less time than NASA shuttle took to circularize. So that's hopefully that'll work. this is the crappy part, because this thing might make infinite amounts of noise. But I found that if I can hop back to the Space Center and then go back to this, then the noise does stop. So hopefully that's enough to not cause a huge problem. This thing's too pretty to crash into the moon. So I guess we're just going to pretend that we actually docked and actually offloaded the fuel to somewhere useful. Alright. I'm comfortable landing this thing with 5 minutes of fuel. Alright, let's see where stuff is after this amount of time. I think I'll go another 1 or 2 around, because I don't really like where anything's positioned. Alright. Alright, I'll go for South America. Yeah, I'm gonna do it right now. Is that too much? Yeah, it was too much. You see why I like that mod so much, though, don't you, Cosmo? Because, like, you can fine-tune the burn time by a second or 100th of a second or 100th of a meter per second or 100 meters per second. Like, it's really, really, really fine-grained, and that's how I get the moon encounters that are, like, exactly perfect. Alright, where the hell are we now? Does that look like about the right range? If I burn here, I will be over land here. Does that look about right? Like, I'd like to be around 10 kilometers by the time we hit Venezuela. Because I'm used to in the stock, like if you re-enter here, you land here, but I can move it up a little bit. I can burn over this land. Nope, wrong way. Good thing there's infinite ignitions. Yeah, when I was doing it earlier, I was just like, I'll aim for Australia, but I wasn't really aiming. It just, I got lucky that Australia happened to be in front of me. Alright, so where am I actually holding fuel right now? Alright, all of it is in the back, which is where I want it actually. Alright, I guess that's about above where I want to be. Maybe a little bit this way. Wait a minute. Well, I guess I burned too late. I'm already over South America. Well, that could be interesting. Or am I? It says I am, but... Oh, is that just a graphical glitch? Yeah. Whoops. At least you didn't miss Africa while in a polar orbit. So you missed it while flying down it the long way. That would be like a plane missing Florida while flying south. Okay. Oh god, there's so many more RCS ports now that there's 4 tails. That was kind of dumb. I also want to set up an action group to do this for me, because I'm probably going to go through and do a real deep dive on the RCS, just to make sure it's balanced, and also to make sure that like ports that aren't really in a good position to do pitch, like these two, there's no reason why they should ever be attempting to do pitch, because they're like right at the center of mass. They can't help with pitch, but they'll just sit there and burn fuel out of both sides anyways. So I'm probably gonna audit the actuation things and just like manually, like those should not be for pitch. Oh boy, we don't have much of the continent left. We're already halfway through and we haven't started to heat up at all. Maybe I can see if I can do a cosmic handbrake turn and get it back around. Yeah, whatever. With all the grace of a flying squirrel. Technically, is this T-posing? It's like upside down, but it's still kind of like a T-pose. Right about there. Yeah, I'd set it way high and then I forgot how far around I was going to go before I had to adjust it. Let's see. So technically, if I can see something while looking at the horizon, then that means that it's hitting air. Yeah. So the two rear tails really aren't doing anything. I think Pulsified is going to be mad, but they're probably going to have to go because they're just adding weight and they're not really contributing to re-entry stability at all. Yeah, these ones up here, like they're completely in the aerodynamic shadow of like everything else until you get to like less than 20 degree AOA, less than 10 degree AOA. Like even there, they're pretty much shadowed by the nose. Well, that might be your perspective thing. Like less than 20, they get some airflow. They look cool, but I just don't think that they really do much for the flying. Okay, time for that and that. So this is with autopilot on and SAS off. Why are you so wiggly? Calm down. But I think the weird yaw issue during air braking is gone now. So let's see. Does having the tails out affect the pitch up? Not really. Not substantially. Yeah, so this is where even with all of the RCS fuel in the rear tank, well, I still have some life support I could dump, I guess. That's not what I want. Where does it say the weight of what's on board? No, that's not it. No. It's gonna make noise forever now. Hey, what are you doing? Did I run out of fuel? How did I run out of fuel? What happened to all my fuel? What the hell? Did it? No. When I dumped the water, it dumped the aerosine. That's bullshit. That is bullshit. Fuck. I hate that manifest thing. I use Tech Fuel Balancer on my game, and it doesn't do stupid crap like Manifest does. So, yeah. I'm gonna call that one not my fault. Alright, what can we even do now? Okay, apparently the tails maybe help pitch it up some. Alright, so I have air brake pitch authority on accident. So we're just gonna hold the brakes and hope for the best. Oh, did that burn off? I guess it did burn off, huh? That's cute. Maximum spice. Really? Well, all the more reason to get rid of it then. I don't know, I thought I saw it before the RCS problem happened, but... we do have a little bit of aerodynamic pitch as well. Well, I can't do it individually though, because they're mirrored. I'm just gonna have to bank on this thing being able to compensate by having four rudders and a whole lot of authority to correct a minor imbalance. That's the trouble with mirroring, is it doesn't always let you pick them one by one. Yeah, I'm just sitting here holding B and S and hoping that it lives. Which, if it does live, I guess that's even more of a testament to um, how good it is to have the tail repositioned. Because when I was trying this without with the upper tail, I would have been doing loopy loops, flipping out and dying by now. Stupid manifest mod. Yeah, you can go away. It won't let me close it, that's right. Lame. Also, I guess it's fortunate that if one of the brakes had to be broken, that it's on the inner tail because it's got less leverage to cause a yaw with. If it was one of these, like, it would have a bigger lever arm to turn it. Yeah, it it is a lot more stable than the Mark V. So one of the things I had done, I don't know if you saw, was I moved the whole wings up the undercarriage, because the center of mass is like kind of in the middle of this somewhere, and the center of lift was like way back here. So moving it up, I got a little bit more maneuverability without having it so far forward that it should flip out. Like if I moved them way up to like here, then it would probably just flip out and die. But I went about as far as I could without leaving the engines unprotected. So like they're still covered by the butt flap, as we call it. Skip number 2, climbing again. It's not even leaving a trail anymore, so we're halfway home. Unfortunately, we're nowhere close to land. Unless there's a runway open on the Canary Islands or something, because I think that's about where we're headed. I'll leave those to your people. They're a bit more important to you guys than they are to us. Yeah, I thought that was like game over for sure. And I think most of the wiggliness is just due to the fact that I'm like max pitch up the whole time, and it just doesn't like having no authority left. So it's doing one of those fugoid oscillations because it has no uh, it can't like adjust the throttle or the pitch precisely because I'm just maxed it out. All right, I think I'm gonna let autopilot hold on to it for a minute. Oh no, we're gonna hit South Africa. We went a lot farther than I thought. Or we were further south. Yeah, I guess we were already on a southeast path, weren't we? Okay, well, Cape Town, here we come. Not that I can see a damn thing, but eh. Yeah, I can kind of just watch the nav ball because it seems to be handling itself pretty well right now, so I might even, whoa, put it just about level so that it's not gonna go getting too much drag going on because we still got a long ways to fall. A tiny bit of pitch up. Yeah, about right there. I don't know. It'll be pretty touch and go if we get there or not. A tiny bit nose up, and the autopilot is sticking down just a tiny bit. Or hell, it's almost like the autopilot doesn't even need to be there. It's just suggesting where to go. We're about to climb again, actually. Or barely sinking. We're only going down by like, I mean, this little orange light's not even on. We're not even 10 meters per second sinking. So like here. Maybe not that far. Like about like that. Oh, you said altitude. I thought you said attitude. My bad. Yeah, I don't want to go much more than 100 meters per second sink rate. Because we already just dropped from 35 to 27. Yeah, I think I just left the brakes on a little bit too long and stayed nose up a little bit too long because I didn't realize how far down range we were or how much further down range we could have been. Yeah, but it makes a pretty good boat as well, I think. Was that the moon right there? Jupiter. All right. I've I've ditched this thing in the ocean several times this week, and it actually doesn't seem to mind the water too much. Um, the people at the assembly plant may have different views on this because they don't like their stuff getting all salt water filled and all that, but um, it usually kind of goes okay. But then again, that's not in pitch black midnight when I can't see a thing, so that'll be exciting. Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure we're committed to a water landing at this point, so I think I'll just go ahead and let it drop down and get the pain over with. Of course, I can probably still, yeah, that's a lot of braking power there. Make the crew black out, pulling 8 G's in that maneuver. How do you do fine controls in 113, or is that not a thing in 113? Because I'm used to being able to make the little maneuvering indicators over here turn like teal colored. Caps lock. Yeah, it doesn't like it. In a Mac it might be a different. I may have to rebind a key or something for it. Yeah, I cannot see anything at all with ambient light turned all the way up. Nah, it doesn't seem to matter. Although I may not even need autopilot at this point. But no, I think it's just a Mac Windows thing because it's not caps lock on. Wow, I do need autopilot, don't I? it's not. It's not caps lock on later versions on Mac either. It's the return key on the home row return key. I hope. Huh. Jeb's little characters is still a giant. He's not showing up in the little window. Yeah, I should have told Bill to get his barf bag ready for that one. I guess this is the truest test of final final approach performance. Although I'm going a little bit too shallow to keep the horizontal airspeed up. But let's see how we do. I'm going to leave the gear up, I guess. No, I'm climbing. Go back down. And touchdown. So I don't think anything broke on touchdown. Nah. The last thing to break was the docking port during the uncontrolled portion of re-entry. So yeah, this thing is perhaps a little overbuilt. And also, as proof, I am not using any fancy pants cheats. So that's just how good it is at hitting the water and living. Did you catch the airspeed right before touchdown? I didn't see what it was, but I think it's within the range that you're looking for wheel bounce. I hope it was definitely under 100. Okay, yeah. So recover. Yeah, too bad there's no fuel left for the AJ-10. So I think next week what I want to do is get something up into orbit that's like a docking target, and I want to do a rendezvous test, dock with something, transfer things to it, and depart from it, and then bring it back home from 250-ish kilometers. And manage the RTS correctly so that it actually descends correctly and hopefully land on something voluntarily instead of ditching. But I think that's pretty much where we're at. I'm just going to go rip those extra unnecessary tails off now. But I think it's just about deliverable. It's just not 100% mission proven. I don't think there's too much more that I want to change other than damn it, why do you do that? There's not too much for me to change other than just fine tuning RCS ports and action groups and stuff. Okay. So get rid of those. Yeah, it's a brute force approach to reaction control at the moment. But oh, come on, AG10, why are you sticking out that far? That's unsightly. Get back in there. And then figuring out why these engines don't want to point the right direction also. That's the other thing I gotta fix. Yeah. Sleep is always fun, or at least pleasant. Yeah, so thanks for coming out today, and I guess I'll see everyone again next week. This might be the last one next week, unless I end up with more jobs to do. So we'll see how it goes, and maybe there'll be more after next week, maybe there won't, but I'll see you guys then. Later.